Welcome everyone to Mastering Podcasting on a Budget. Launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without breaking the bank. This is Streamline Media Agency LLC, and again, welcome to the webinar. Whether you're just starting out or looking to optimize your podcasting efforts, this webinar will provide valuable insights on how to create, grow, and monetize your podcast without spending a fortune. I think that's the biggest thing about when you are launching out into a new venture. You want to be sure that you're launching with a game plan and also launching with the most cost effective manner, right? Because again, we want to think and grow rich. That's a book that you should look into. But nonetheless, let's get into this webinar. First and foremost, I'm Brianna Baker, a creative consultant and founder of Streamline Media Agency LLC. I specialize in helping businesses and nonprofits create impactful social and digital media campaigns that resonate with their target audiences. With a strong focus on content creation, brand development, and audience engagement, I'm passionate about elevating online presence in a way that's both effective and budget friendly. My goal is to empower organizations to streamline their media efforts and achieve lasting success through innovative and strategic approaches. So, what we'll be covering in this webinar is, of course, the introduction, which you've heard, the planning process, essential budget equipment, recording and editing tips, launching and promoting your podcast, and monetization strategies. So, if you're ready, let's begin. When you are planning out your podcast, you want to first and foremost find your niche, or find your niche, depending on which way you want to pronounce that. And when you find your niche, you're finding that group or that target market, which goes into point two. You want to define exactly who you're speaking to. Understanding your listeners' needs will guide your content. Set clear goals for your podcast, whether it's growing an audience, building authority, or generating revenue. Then you want to plan your content in advance, outlining your actual episodes, potential guests, key talking points. Also, your competitors. I love this point because when it comes to your planning your podcast, I love the idea of doing a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT analysis? That is where you figure out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you are beginning to plan out your business, your podcast, you want to research the market, analyze what other podcasts are in your niche, and then identify gaps and opportunities. So when you create that 4-part chart, you are able to really zone in and just assess what you can bring to the market. We always hear people say, "Oh, the market is saturated. There's no other opportunities here." But I'm here to tell you, and I'm sure some of you all have seen that image on social media where there's a picture of the bread aisle at a supermarket, and the caption simply says, "It's not oversaturated. Just launch it, just do it, just promote it," because there are multiple people talking about this topic, okay? Whatever your topic is. So do not shy away from it, but be mindful of the market. That's really my messaging. Be mindful of the market. You can sell whatever you like, but just be mindful of the market. Hence why a SWOT analysis is beneficial. The next bonus point here is format and frequency. You need to decide on the format of your podcast. Are you doing interview style? Is it solo style? Is it panel style? What are you going to do? Like, what's the actual setup? And then when or how often are you going to be releasing episodes? All of this is very crucial, format and frequency, because again, when you are mindful of the market, you know exactly what pace to stick in the race or stay in the race, right? You got to have the pace of grace when you're in this race. And the race that I'm referring to is the podcast industry. There is longevity in this industry because honestly, guys, there's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. And why not utilize your knowledge, your interests, and honestly, in turn, reach your target audience and gain revenue in the process. But let me finish out this point, planning your podcast. The last point here is create a content calendar. When you are planning your episodes and promotions in advance, it helps you to stay consistent. I'm speaking from experience. I have a podcast with my husband called Resilient Love Podcast. And when we created the podcast, this is what's going to help you guys for the planning process. When we created the podcast, our focus or our niche was or is married millennial couples, specifically African American millennial couples who want to have a relationship God's way. So when you really zone in, that's your age group. That's your target focal point. So you just heard me tell you the age group, the race, their relationship status, all of that. Now, are we shying away from individuals who are single, individuals who are dating? No, but we want you to listen with an ear that I desire this or I'm already at this point. So when you think about your niche, your audience, think about what is the actual topic, who are the age, what is the age group of that for that topic, and just how to expand it. And that goes into our bonus point. So again, this is point one, planning your podcast. All right, let's move on. So after you plan out your podcast, you figure out what your target is, your niche. Now you need the actual equipment. And so on this slide, I really wanted to highlight just a few budget-friendly items. And you all can actually click the link. If you did the email course, the equipment link was provided there, but I will also provide it in the notes of this video. But overall, you don't need to spend a lot to sound professional. Budget-friendly microphones, such as the ones listed on the screen, offer a great sound quality without a hefty price tag. Invest in good headphones that provide accurate monitoring. Don't forget accessories like a pop filter or mic stands, which are affordable but essentially essential, for quality recording. If you need a portable option, you can look at the Zoom Handy Recorder, and that's an excellent choice. Additionally, consider whether you want a USB mic for ease or an XLR mic for better quality and future upgradability. Ensure that your equipment is compatible with your software and think about how you might upgrade as your podcast grows. So again, if you go to the equipment link that's provided, you will be able to just check out a few options via Amazon. And again, the essential budget equipment list is for that midway point of your journey. But when you first began recording, my husband and I began recording literally on our phones. So I don't want you to get too consumed or overly consumed with, I need to order everything today. No, you could start right now. I mean, most cell phones come with a headphone that has a microphone attached. And so you literally can put your headphones in. I prefer the wired headphones versus wireless for recording if you are going to base it on a more simplistic budget. I would go with the wired headphones and my record voice memo, on your cell phone. If you want to step it up, these items listed on the screen and in the Amazon storefront link will provide you with that bonus essential budget equipment. So again, level 1 is to record on your cell phone with some wired headphones. And then level 2 and 3 and beyond could be the items listed on this slide. So I just want to make sure that I highlighted some options for you, but you can start with just the basics. This is a level up, okay? So always remember that this is like a level up budget, but you can literally start with your cell phone and your headphones. All right, so we talked about the essential equipment. We're going to move on to recording. So once you have established like what your topic is going to be, who your audience is, and setting your goals and your content, then you decide, okay, how exactly am I going to record this? Will I do my cell phone? Will I have headphones? Will I order a microphone, etc.? There's also a lapel mic, and all of those are, like I said, in the Amazon storefront for your consideration. So we have established equipment. Now let's talk about recording and editing tips. First and foremost, finding a quiet place. You do not want extra background noise when you are recording your podcast. It is very, very key. Use free or low-cost software like Audacity, GarageBand, even CapCut for editing and trimming. It can make a huge difference in your final product. Optimize your audio with simple techniques like noise reduction and equalization to ensure a polished sound. Additionally, consider using household items to dampen the sound, almost like a towel or blankets, pillows, etc. Additionally, you can learn editing shortcuts and batching techniques to save time and aim for consistent audio levels across all episodes for a professional feel. So that's what I wanted to make sure that we discuss for recording and editing. The key thing here is, and I'm going to utilize or kind of bounce around with my experience so that you can really know, like, Brianna has done these tips. She's utilized these tips. This is how her husband got started, and they are progressing forward, and I can too, right? So again, with recording and editing tips, a quiet space. Our very first episode was recorded in the car. And I know you said, what, the car? But yes, our very first episode was in the car. We were traveling. And of course, you do run the risk of like that air sound, or kind of like a wind sound. And we did, but as we began to learn, we realized that we could use platforms like Audacity to cut the background noise. And now with the elevation and the innovation of AI, that can really help to balance out your sound. And so those are some other opportunities or other avenues to look at when editing. Another factor here is, depending on your recording style, I've had clients who have done 100% audio, no visual. But as we all know, with our society, and the time of this recording is 2024, and so with our society, there are a lot of advancements in batching and also posting on multiple places. And the third factor here is having the audio and visual. So when you are considering starting your podcast, consider having audio and visual. I don't want you to be limited though, because I have a client who decided against having visual, and they have skyrocketed in their posting. They chose their niche, they chose their target, their equipment are some of the items I listed, and they have just got to that quiet place. Their editing is very simplistic, little to no editing, and to be completely honest, and they post, they launch. And so that's what I'm saying to you all. Done is better than perfect. Obviously, as you advance in your profession, you will begin to learn even the more. But having a baseline of quiet place, my phone, or some type of recording device, and a basic edit utilizing CapCut, GarageBand, or Audacity is just going to really help get your messaging out there. So do not limit yourself because of finances. That was the heart of this webinar, to really encourage you to just get started. There is no limitation. There are various methods that can be utilized to make this work and make it happen for you. All right, so we have decided on our planning, our equipment, and recording and editing tips. Now it's time to launch. It's time to launch and promote. So you're probably saying, well, we did all this talking, recording. What about my name? What about my colors, etc.? So launching and promoting your podcast, we want to be sure that we set a foundation of who we are and what we are about. And so your podcast branding is the first thing potential listeners will notice. So invest some time in creating a compelling logo, name, and description. Choose a budget-friendly hosting platform like Anchor, Buzzsprout to promote or distribute your podcast. Now, Anchor's name has changed to Spotify for podcasting. So I just wanted to make that edit there. Anchor's name has changed to Spotify for podcasting. Submit your podcast to directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify to reach a wider audience. Promote your episodes on social media and engage with your audience to build a loyal following. Don't forget to network and collaborate with other podcasters to expand your reach. Additionally, consider a pre-launch marketing strategy to build anticipation. Engage in cross-promotion with other podcasters and optimize your SEO by using relevant keywords in your podcast title and description. So, break that down, Brianna. Break it down, break it down. I'm glad that you said that. So, branding, your logo, name, and description. When you are considering your branding, we decided to, when we first launched, we did a simple, I don't know if you guys recall Bitmojis, but my husband and I utilized a Bitmoji to start off. So it was just a caricature of myself and my husband, and we were like leaning on something. We were leaning on the words Resilient Love Podcast. So we just did a simple Canva logo setup. We chose colors that were similar to our wedding. So our wedding colors were like a burgundy, plum, and a blush. So when you look at our logo, you will see elements of those colors. We also, now after a year, we did reach out to a platform called Fiverr, and now our current logo was derived from a logo creator or logo designer on Fiverr. And that's another conversation. But for the baseline, think about the colors, logo. What is your podcast about? Resilient Love Podcast is a platform that discusses relationships and lifestyle God's way, utilizing Christian principles and values to help give strategies and tips on how to manage life challenges. When we called it resilient love, resilient just means overcoming difficult situations. And so we wanted to inspire, encourage people in relationships that they can be resilient and overcome difficult situations that take place in their life. So you guys can see, I know that was the longer version, but you guys understand when you're describing or giving your podcast a description, being very detail oriented is necessary so that there's no misinterpretation of what exactly your podcast is going to be discussing. So, what you just heard clearly shows you that when you click on this podcast, you're going to hear different stories about how couples overcome various factors. Period. All right. So from there, the hosting platform. Now, when we first began, it was on Anchor. Then we shifted to Audio Boom. And so Audio Boom is the platform that we are currently on. And so you need a hosting platform. That simply means a place to put your recordings. I know we can say, oh, I'm putting them on YouTube, but creating a platform such as the ones listed or others, there's plenty. This is a place to house the recordings. Now, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you would like to, or at some point in your journey, begin to record it for YouTube just to help build a podcast channel. But again, that's more of a next level conversation. The baseline: name, logo, description, a platform. And honestly, guys, the platform you choose is going to push out, and I use that term to say distribute your episodes or your recordings to directories like Apple, Spotify, Google. Like Audio Boom does it for us. It launches for us. There was no special steps that had to be taken. Audio Boom did that work to get it to those directories. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, social media. I only listed 3, and I understand that Twitter is now called X. But nonetheless, when you talk about promoting on social media, that's the big thing, guys. That's the big trend. You know, posting on your platform, your hosting platform is one factor of reaching, but the second factor is, of course, your social media. So making sure that the name that you choose, going back to branding, the name that you choose is consistent across all platforms. We are Resilient Love Podcast across all platforms. There's no switch up. It's all consistent. Now, I do have a client whose podcast is called Motivate to Millions, but their Instagram and TikTok are We Motivate to Millions. So there was a switch up, if you will, or discrepancy is the best word, because the name Motivate to Millions was already taken. So to try to keep branding consistent, the we was added as a factor to show that this collective motivates to millions. So even though it's a solo podcast that does interviews, the we motivate is with the intent to, for future reference, it become a network of men, business owners that motivate and speak to others about how to launch and grow their business. So I just want to give a little disclaimer about how it could go both ways when it comes to pushing your podcast. Okay, your social media names could shift, and we know that even for personal social media, how there's multiple people with this particular name, and so just putting your name up there may not be the best. Okay. And last but not least, network and collaborate. That's been my whole thing. When it comes to podcasting, getting yourself out there, getting your name out there, you want to network and collaborate. You want to have people get to know you. When, like I said, I'm going to use my situation so that you guys know I'm coming from an authentic place. I'm coming from a place that I've been there and done it, and I literally wrote about it. And so when you network and collaborate, there's a group on Facebook, and we'll be talking about this a little bit more, but there's a group on Facebook where you can share your podcast and then become guests of others' podcasts or have people be a guest on yours. And so networking and collaborating, sharing with your family and friends. There may be some episodes that your family and friends will just highlight and hype up for you and get you out there. So again, don't despise the small beginnings. Launch, put it out there, and it will grow. Consistency is going to help you grow. Remember that. Consistency is going to help me grow. All right. So, with all of this being said, how do I make money? Because that's like the biggest thing, right? We're not doing all of this just for a check off. There is a financial portion or a revenue portion to this journey. And so I will be transparent and say, in the beginning, do not look for the monetization unless you are going to set up the very first thing you see listed, which is sponsorships and ads. So let's go into it. Monetizing your podcast can be done even on a budget. Sponsorships and ads, are the most common methods. Reach out to brands that align with your content. Crowdfunding platforms like Patreon allow your audience to support you directly. Offering premium content or merchandise can also generate income. Don't forget affiliate marketing. Recommend products or services you believe in and earn commission for every sale through your link. Consider using hosting platforms like Dynamic Ad Insertion for better revenue opportunities. Conduct listener surveys to find out what premium content or merchandise they'd be interested in, and partner with brands that align so that you can have authentic and great affiliate partnerships. So overall, when you are considering monetization, that should definitely be a discussion. I would say early within the planning stages of your podcast. How will we monetize this? I have a client who in the beginning sponsored with 2 local businesses, and now after not even a full year, we're talking about after 2 to 3 months of solid weekly, not even long, just over 2 months of weekly posting. This particular podcast, The Unknown Preacher LA, has now been marketed to a radio station. So again, when you find your niche, when you plan out, when you budget your equipment, and you get your recording and editing flow, and you launch, people will come. People will come. And so starting off with sponsorships, you can ask local businesses in your community, I would do an ad at this rate. It could even be something as simple as on my podcast platform, as in my podcast social media, my podcast website, and I will insert in my episode an ad about your company. So really showing them how they're going to get the bang for their buck and building up that interest. I personally believe you should have the conversation about monetization, but be mindful that you need to get yourself out there. So I would say after 90 days, consider what's my next step. That's my honest vote. Because again, with the client I just mentioned, after about 60 days, there was a conversation about monetization. So between 60 to 90 days, so 2 to 3 months, consider how am I going to monetize? My husband and I, with our podcast, Resilient Love, we decided to use affiliate marketing and merchandise as our monetization strategy. So that it could be as simple as that. That's your monetization strategy. We're just going to use affiliate marketing and merchandise. Some of you will, again, partner with businesses, do ads, etc. So monetization, my bottom line advice is definitely discuss it in the beginning, but give yourself 2 to 3 months to record, get your name out there, and then begin to say, okay, let's begin to push more for monetization. Have the plan in the back office, but then push the plan after about 2 months. All right. So, with all of that being said, we have a 5-step plan for you to be able to market and put your podcast out there. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. We want to master podcasting on a budget, and we're going to do that by planning, getting our equipment, recording, launching, and then promoting / monetizing. And so I'm just so happy. If you want to revisit this webinar, the replay link will be available, and I'm happy to provide any type of guidance because guess what? Guess what? There's more. First and foremost, download the free checklist. It's at the bottom of this video. Join our podcast community, which is the Mic Drop Collective, and then sign up for one-on-one coaching. And then when you sign up, email breebrandsconsultant@gmail.com with the title One Mic Session to set up a consultation. So again, this has been Brianna Baker with Streamline Media Agency LLC. Please make sure to stay connected. Check out our flow code. Also go to Streamline Your Media on all social media platforms. I hope that this webinar was beneficial. It really helped to bring together everything that was laid out in my new ebook, as well as the email course. So, hope you all have a great day. And if you're ready to master your podcasting on a budget, contact Streamline Media Agency and through email at breebrandsconsulting@gmail.com. All right. Launch, grow, and monetize without breaking your bank. Take care.